Welcome to this evening's meditation and sutra study. We'll begin with our 30-minute Supreme Bodhi meditation.
Hey, are you guys there? Can you hear me?
Oh, hi. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, it's me and Jasmine, or me and Katie are here.
Okay, yeah. We've started the meditation, the 30-minute meditation.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks. All right. That concludes the meditation portion of the evening. We'll take a few minutes, get up and stretch, and then we'll come back for the Sutra study in a couple minutes. All right, and we are back studying the Strangama Sutra on page 178, and we'll just continue where we left off last time we studied. Shariputra then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, "In former aeons, the sight perception of my mind was already pure and clean, and in my subsequent incarnations, as countless as the sands in the Ganges, I could see without hindrance through all things, either on a worldly or supramundane plane. I met on the road the two brothers Kasyapa, who were both preaching the doctrine of causality, and after listening to them, my mind awakened to the truth, and thereby became extensive and boundless. I then left home to follow the Buddha, and achieved perfect sight perception, thereby acquiring fearlessness, attaining arhatship, and qualifying as the Buddha's elder son, born from the Buddha's mouth, and by transformation of the Dharma. As the Buddha now asks about the best means of perfection, according to my personal experience, the best consists in realizing the most illuminating knowledge by means of the mind's radiant sight perception."
Samanta Bahadra Bodhisattva rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, "I was already a son of the Dharma king, when formerly I was with the Tathagatas, who were countless as the sands in the Ganges. All the Buddhas in the 10 directions, who teach their disciples to plant bodhisattva roots, urge them to practice samantabhadra deeds, which are called after my name. World-honored one, I always use my mind to listen in order to distinguish the variety of views held by living beings. If in a place, separated from here by a number of worlds as countless as the sands in the Ganges, a living being practices samanta bahadra deeds, I mount at once a 6-tusked elephant, and reproduce myself in 100 and 1,000 apparitions to come to his aid, even if he is unable to see me because of his great karmic obstruction. I secretly lay my hand on his head to protect and comfort him, so that he can succeed. As the Buddha now asks about the best means of perfection, according to my personal experience, the best consists in hearing with the mind, which leads to non-discriminative discernment.
Sundarananda then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, "When I left home to follow the Buddha, although fully ordained, I failed to realize the state of samadhi because my mind was always unsettled. I was therefore unable to reach the condition beyond the stream of transmigration. The world-honored one then taught me the Kaustila to fix my mind on the tip of the nose. I started this meditation, and some 3 weeks later, I saw that the breath that went in and out of my nostrils was like smoke. Inwardly, both body and mind were clear, and I looked through the world, which became pure emptiness like crystal everywhere."
The smoke gradually disappeared, and my breath became white. As my mind opened, I achieved the state beyond the stream of transmigration. Both my in and out breaths, now bright, illumined the 10 directions, so that I attained the Arhat stage. The world-honored one prophesies that I would win enlightenment. As he now asks about the best means of perfection, according to my personal experience, the best is to eliminate breath, which will then turn radiant, ensuring the attainment of the stage of perfection beyond the stream of transmigration.
Purnamaitrayani-putra then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, "In former aeons my power of speech was unhindered, and I preached the misery and unreality, thereby penetrating deep into the absolute reality. I expounded in the assembly the Tathagata's Dharma doors to enlightenment as uncountable as the sands in the Ganges, and thereby won fearlessness. The world-honored one knew that I had acquired the great power of speech and taught me how to perform the Buddha's work by preaching. There, in his presence, I assisted him in turning the wheel of the law, and since I could give the lion's roar, I attained arhatship. He sealed my unexcelled skill in expounding the Dharma, as he now asks about the best means of perfection. According to my opinion, the best consists of employing the Dharma voice to subdue the enmity of Mara and to stop the stream of transmigration.
Upali then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, I personally accompanied the Buddha, and we climbed the city wall to flee from home. With my own eyes, I saw how he endured hardship in his practice during the first 6 years of ascetic life, subdued all demons, overcame heretics, and freed himself from worldly desires and all impure efflux from the mind. All impure efflux from the mind. He personally taught me discipline, including the 3,000 regulations and 80,000 lines of conduct, which purified all my innate and conventional subtle karmas. As my body and mind were in the nirvanic state, I attained arhatship, and the Tathagata sealed my mind because of my strict observance of discipline and control of body. I am now a pillar of discipline in this assembly, and am regarded as the foremost disciple. As the Buddha now asks about the best means of perfection, in my opinion, the best consists in disciplining the body so that it can free itself from all restraints, and then in disciplining the mind so that it can be all-pervading, which results in the freedom of both body and mind.
Mahamadgalyayana then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, One day, as I was begging for food in the street, I met the 3 Kasyapa brothers, Uruvilva, Gaya, and Nadi, who preached the profound doctrine of causality taught by the Tathagata. Suddenly my mind opened and became all-pervading. Then the Tathagata gave me a monk's robe, and when I wore it, my hair and beard fell out. I rambled in the 10 directions and met no obstruction. I thus acquired transcendental power, which proved the foremost, and led my attainment of arhatship. Not only the world-honored one, but all the Tathagatas in the 10 directions praised my supernatural powers, which were perfect, pure, sovereign, and fearless. As the Buddha now asks about the best means of perfection, in my opinion, the best consists of returning to stillness, to allow the light of the mind to appear, just as muddy water by settling becomes pure and clean as crystal.
Uschusma then came forward in front of the Tathagata, joined the palms of his 2 hands, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, I can still remember that in a very remote aeon, I was filled with sensual desire. At the time a Buddha called the King of Immateriality appeared in the world. According to him, those with lustful desires increase their own hellfires. Then he taught me to meditate on the bones in my body, on my 4 limbs, and on my warm and cold breaths. So by turning inwardly, the spiritual light for pointed concentration, my lustful mind turned into the fire of wisdom. Since then I was called Firehead by all the Buddhas, because of my powerful fire light, samadhi, I attained arhatship. Then I took my great vow to become a demigod, so that when all Buddhas were about to attain enlightenment, I would personally help them to overcome the enmity of Mara. As the Buddha now asks about the best means of perfection, according to my opinion, the best consists in looking into the non-existent heat in my body and mind in order to remove all hindrances thereto, and to put an end to the stream of transmigration, so that the great precious fight can appear and lead to the realization of Supreme Bodhi.
Dharanindra Bodhisattva then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, I still remember that formerly when the Buddha of universal light appeared in the world, I was a bhiksu who used to level all obstacles, build bridges, and carry sand and earth to improve the main roads, ferries, rice fields, and dangerous passes which were in bad condition or impassable to horses and carts. Thus I continued to toil for a long time, in which an uncountable number of Buddhas appeared in the world. If someone made a purchase at the marketplace and required another to carry it home for him, I did it without charge. Then Visvabhu Buddha appeared in the world, and famine was frequent. I became a carrier, charging only one coin, no matter whether the distance was long or short. If an ox cart could not move in a bog, I used my supernatural power to push its wheels free. One day the king invited that Buddha to a feast. As the road was bad, I leveled it for him. The Tathagata Visabhu placed his hand on my head and said, You should level your mind ground. Then all things in the world will be on the same level. My mind opened, and I perceived that all molecules of my body did not differ from those of which the world is made. These molecules were such that they did not touch one another, and could not be touched even by sharp weapons. I then awakened to the patient endurance of the uncreate, and thereby attained arhatship. Then, by turning my mind inwards, I realized the Bodhisattva stage, and when I heard the Tathagatas expound the Buddha's universal knowledge in the profound Lotus Sutra, I was the first listener to be awakened to it, and was made a leader of the assembly. As the Buddha now asks about the best means of perfection, in my opinion, the best consists in looking into the sameness of body and universe, which are created by infection from falsehood arising from the Tathagata's store, until this defilement vanishes and is replaced by perfect wisdom, which then leads to the realization of Supreme Bodhi.
Chandraprabha Bodhisattva then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, I still remember that in the remotest of aeons, countless as the sands in the Ganges, there was a Buddha called Varuna, who appeared in the world and taught bodhisattvas to contemplate the element of water in order to enter into the state of samadhi. This method consists in looking into the body wherein all watery elements do not by nature suppress one another, using as subjects of meditation first tears and snot, and then saliva, secretion, blood, urine, and excrement, and then reversing the order, thereby perceiving that this element of water in the body does not differ from that of the fragrant oceans that surround the pure lands of Buddhas situated beyond our world.
When I achieved this contemplation, I succeeded in realizing only the sameness of the element of water, but failed to relinquish the body. I was then a bhiksu practicing dhyana, and when my disciple peeped into the room, he saw that it was filled entirely with clear water, without anything else. As he was an ignorant boy, he picked up a broken tile, threw it into the water with a splash, gazed curiously, and left. When I came out of my jhana state, I suddenly felt pain in my heart, as if I had the same trouble with which Shariputra had with a wicked demon. I thought, since I have realized arhatship, I should be free from all causal ailments. Why today, all of a sudden, have I pain in my heart? Is it not a sign of my backsliding? When the boy returned and related what he had seen and done during my meditation, I asked, "When next you see water in my room, open the door, enter the water, and take away the broken tile." The boy obeyed, for when again I entered the dhyana state, he saw the same broken tile in the water. He opened the door and removed the tile. When I came out of dhyana, my pain had vanished. Later I met countless Buddhas before I encountered Sagaravaradara, Buddhivridita, Bijna Buddha. I succeeded in relinquishing body, thereby realizing perfect union of this body and the fragrant oceans in the 10 directions with absolute voidness, without any further differentiation. This is why I was called a son of a Buddha, and was qualified to attend all bodhisattva meetings.
As the Buddha now asks about the best means of perfection, in my opinion, the best consists in achieving the unhindered, universalizing pervasion of the element water, thereby realizing the patient endurance of the uncreate, which ensures complete enlightenment. The Bodhisattva of crystal light then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, "I still remember that once in the remotest of aeons, countless as the sands in the Ganges, there was a Buddha called Infinite Voice, who appeared in the world to reveal to bodhisattvas the profoundly enlightened fundamental awareness, which by looking into this world and the bodily forms of all living beings could perceive that all were created by the power of the wind arising from illusory concurrent causes. At the time I inquired into the setting up of the world, changing time, bodily motion, and motionlessness, stirring of mind, in other words, all kinds of movement, which were fundamentally the same and did not differ from one another. I then realized that these movements had neither whence to come, nor whither to go, and that all living beings in the 10 directions, as uncountable as the dust, came from the same falsehood. Likewise, all living beings in every small world of the great chiliocosm were like mosquitoes in a trap in which they hummed aimlessly and created a mad tumult. Soon after meeting that Buddha, I realized the patient endurance of the uncreate. As my mind opened, I perceived the land of the imperturbable Buddha in the eastern region, where I was admitted as the son of the Dharma king, serving all the Buddhas in the 10 directions. My body and mind gave out rays of light that illumined all the worlds without obstruction.
As the Buddha now asks about the best means of perfection, in my opinion, the best consists in looking into the power of the element of wind, which has nothing on which to rely, thereby awakening to the Bodhi mind so as to enter samadhi and to unite with the profound one mind expounded by the Buddhas in the 10 directions. Aksasgarba Bodhisattva then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, "When the Tathagata and I were with Dipamkara Buddha and realized our boundless bodies, I held in my hands 4 big precious gems, which illuminated all Buddha lands in the 10 directions, as uncountable as dust, and transmuted them into the void. Then my own mind appeared like a great mirror, emitting 10 kinds of mysterious precious light, which penetrated the 10 directions, reaching the boundaries of space, and causing all pure lands of Buddhas to enter the mirror, and then to intermingle freely with my own body, which was just like unobstructive space. My body could enter perfectly as many countries as there are grains of dust to carry out far and wide the Buddha works, so that universality could prevail. This great transcendental power derived from my close inquiry into the 4 elements, which had nothing real to rely upon, and into false thinking that rose and fell. I realized the non-duality of space and the sameness of the Buddhas and samsaric worlds, thereby achieving the patient endurance of the uncreate."
As the Buddha now asks about the best means of perfection, according to my own experience, the best consists in the close examination into boundless space, leading to entry into samadhi, and perfecting thereby the mysterious spiritual power. Maitreya Bodhisattva then rose from his seat, prostrated himself with his head at the feet of the Buddha, and declared, "I still remember that in the remotest of aeons, as uncountable as the dust, there was a Buddha called Chandrasurya Pradipa who appeared in the world. I followed him to leave home. However, I cherished worldly fame and liked to mix with noble clans. Then the Tathagata taught me how to practice dhyana meditation on the mind's consciousness in order to realize the state of samadhi. Ever since the following aeons, I have used this samadhi to serve Buddhas, as many as the sands in the Ganges, thereby eliminating completely my mindset on worldly fame. When Dipamkara Buddha appeared in the world, I realized the consciousness perfecting supreme samadhi of the mind, which enabled me to perceive that all Tathagata and samsaric worlds, purity and impurity, and existence and non-existence, were but appearances caused by my own mind's transformations. World-honored one, because of my clear understanding that only the mind's consciousness was the cause of unlimited number of Tathagatas coming out of the nature of consciousness, hence prophecy that I shall be his successor. As the Buddha
now asks about the best means of perfection, my opinion is that the best consists of close examination into all appearances, which are created by consciousness only, in order to perfect the conscious mind, thereby realizing complete reality and ensuring non-reliance on externals, and the breaking of all attachments caused by discrimination, thereby achieving the patient endurance of the uncreate. All right, and it is 6:30. This is a good stopping point. So I'm gonna mark what were we included today. All right, and Unless there are any questions or anything that anyone wants to discuss about what we read, that will conclude this evening's practice.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
All right, thank you. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.